In the past couple of days, Donald Trump has managed to say a lot, and he managed to say everything all at once. Putin let me down. I'm ready to do more against Russia if our allies hit China and stop buying oil from the Russian Federation. I don't think it's necessary to demand an immediate ceasefire from Putin. I'll end the war soon, but there are still several conditions. At the same time, a joint press conference with United Kingdom Prime Minister Keir Starmer saw journalists again ask about sanctions, China and Ukraine. So let's put the puzzle together in this episode. What's really on the table in the White House, what trump cards there are, and why Trump said that Putin really let him down. What will follow this, and is there a chance that something more painful for Moscow will happen, not just in words, but in action? Here's the meaning behind Trump's words and his recent statements. My name is Alexei Pechi. Today is September 19th on the calendar. And before we start this episode, I want to share with you an interesting YouTube channel where I personally, so to speak, calm myself and soothe my nerves after being overwhelmed by the news. Well, with the kind of news, for example, that we are going to discuss with you today, I recommend Olha Bobira's YouTube channel. She's a psychologist who shares brief videos on anxiety, boundaries, and relationships. Also, productivity is key, as well as avoiding burnout. These are short episodes in simple, clear language. Basically, each video is one clear, understandable step toward that very clarity. Subscribe to the Boba Upsa YouTube channel using the link in this video's description. And I'll say this. If you're subscribed to Alexei Pechi's YouTube channel and you're part of our community of critically thinking people, then be sure to also subscribe to the Psychologist's YouTube channel. The link is in the description of this video, and you can write in the comments under her video, big greetings from our YouTube channel. So, Putin let me down, said Donald Trump at a press conference with Keir Starmer. The context of the statement is the increase in Russian attacks after the Alaskan summit and the lack of progress in direct negotiations between Kyiv and Moscow. Quote, I thought he was moving toward peace, but he chose escalation. I just want to say, Donald Trump, Ukrainians have been telling you this since the first day of your presidency. Which one? Oh. How can you reconcile the concept of balding loser Putin and peace? Putin and peace are incompatible. This has been explained to you for a long time. Didn't you get it? They say, I thought he wanted peace, but he escalated instead. Then Trump surprised many by going even further. The president said the issue he expected to solve easily due to his relationship with Russian dictator Vladimir Putin was actually more complex. The president of the United States said Russia is losing more soldiers than Ukraine. Quote, Putin is killing a lot of people. He is losing more people than he is killing. Russian soldiers are dying more often than Ukrainian ones. Trump once again confidently stated that the full-scale war in Ukraine would never have started if he had been the president of the United States instead of Joe Biden. Quote, millions of people have died in this war, millions of souls, and they are not American soldiers. Soldiers are dying at a rate that no one has seen since World War I. I feel that I have to solve this problem for that very reason. At the same time, another message from Trump on the same press channel on the same day goes like this. Quote, it seems that now is not the time to ask Vladimir Putin for a ceasefire. If I have to demand a ceasefire, I will take tough measures. It is necessary to continue lowering oil prices. The Russia-Ukraine war will end if global oil prices fall. Now attention. So the American president, who was once called the leader of the free world, is saying to ask Putin. He says now is not the time to ask Putin for a ceasefire. Not to demand, not to punish the reckless dictator Putin, but to ask. And then, as an excuse, Trump says, let Europe hit Russia and China first. I'll look at the consequences, and if it's effective, I'll quickly impose tariffs and sanctions too, and take all the credit for the victory. If it doesn't work, Trump will likely give Putin 2 more weeks, then another 2 before asking Europe why they impose tariffs. But that's your decision. I didn't pressure you. Trump said all this at a joint press conference with Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Trump discussed friendship, unity, and peace readiness. Avoiding specifics about secondary sanctions against Russia, Starmer, on the contrary, spoke about strong support for Ukraine and the importance of transatlantic ties. Now the analysis. Donald Trump's phrase, Putin let me down, at first glance, is not about personal resentment. It's about an attempt to shift the narrative. I offered peace, made concessions, did everything for peace, but Moscow didn't respond. So now my tough actions are completely justified. Well, if they happen, of course. But if anything, I warned you. But the whole problem is that Trump's next two phrases once again tie this toughness to absolutely impossible conditions. Brussels states that Europe neither wants nor intends to start a full tariff war with China. Hungary and Slovakia will not shut off Russian energy tomorrow, and Trump knows this perfectly well. So the setup works again just like a barrier. Looks good for the camera, but in practice it's absolutely useless. What could hurt the Kremlin more without all these ifs? It's a very specific set. Secondary sanctions on shadow fleet insurance and personal actions against involved transshipment ports and intermediaries. These grey batches of Russian oil. And targeted strikes on second-tier banks in Asia through which this oil for iron barter is conducted and through which Russians still have the opportunity to make payments. This is entirely within the competence of the United States of America. Notez bafie, no consensus from the European Union is needed here. Decisions from the United States Treasury and the State Department are required. Each and every such little cog leads to a lower price for the Russian barrel within a week, against the backdrop of the European 19th package of sanctions. That would have been a strong combination, but Trump doesn't. He says Putin let him down. I will be tough. I will stand up very toughly at some point in the future. Now about the meeting with Keir Starmer, more to come. Britain usually takes a tough stance, backing Ukraine, sanctioning Russia, and providing intelligence. For London, this phrase, Putin let me down, means nothing, absolutely nothing. So far, there are no real actions or secondary sanctions, and Starmer is politely but persistently playing along. He says, yes, peace is important, but adds, without strength, there is no peace. That's why the next marker is not words, but documents. Will there be a new list of sanctions on insurers, ports, the shadow fleet, and banks from the United States in the coming weeks? If this phrase appears, I'll go further, it will take shape. If not, it was just another round of this negotiation aesthetics, if you will, from Donald Trump. Another point, when Trump says he doesn't think it's necessary to ask Putin for an immediate ceasefire. He seems to be taking off the role of the bad cop for Kyiv, but for the Kremlin it reads as, guys, there's plenty of time. There's no deadline from the United States anymore. That means they can pressure the infrastructure, fly empty drones over Poland, stretch the front line, and so on. This is that very gray zone where absolutely everyone suffers. Ukraine, because every day costs Ukrainian lives. Europe, because the risks at its borders are growing. And the United States, because leadership looks like we're waiting for our allies. American leadership doesn't look like leadership. It's not we'll lead, but you go first, we'll follow. Conclusion, Trump's words, Putin let me down. They only work together with things that really hurt. Secondary sanctions on the shadow fleet, banks and ports, faster delivery of long-range air defense missiles to Ukraine, and political backing for the Western air shield over Ukraine. The United States can do all this without any reservations, but what about Europe? These steps that I'm listing don't require any coordination. Europe has already done this. After that, no, it's not a turning point, it's just rhetoric. It's simply rhetoric. Britain is steering Europe its way. With Europe advancing the 19th package, the ball is now in America's court. But will Trump use this opportunity? Well, obviously not in the near future. He already acknowledges that. He let me down and deceived me. I thought it would work out, but it didn't. Putin chose escalation over peace, but Trump is already saying things that should prompt him to act. But absolutely nothing follows those words. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's it for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.